September 7, 1876. A quiet town in Minnesota was about to witness one of the bloodiest bank robberies in American history. It would be remembered not for the money stolen, but for how ordinary citizens stood up to one of the most feared outlaw gangs of the Wild West. The James Younger gang had robbed banks, stagecoaches, and trains across the Midwest. Led by the infamous Jesse James and his brother Frank, they had grown bold, too bold. Their target: the First National Bank of Northfield, Minnesota. Northfield was small, unsuspecting, and wealthy. Perfect for a daylight robbery, or so they thought. At 2 p.m., 3 gang members walked into the bank. At first, they looked like customers. Then, guns out, they demanded the cashier open the safe. But the safe had a time lock. It couldn't be opened. Frustrated, they pistol-whipped the teller and tried to force their way to the vault. Meanwhile, outside, suspicion was growing. Outside, the rest of the gang stood guard with rifles. But this wasn't Jesse James's home territory. This was Minnesota, and the people of Northfield weren't about to stand by. Storekeepers, farmers, and townsfolk quietly took up arms. The town was preparing to fight back. When the robbers tried to leave the bank, the streets erupted. Citizens opened fire from windows, rooftops, and behind barrels. The James Younger gang, caught in the open, returned fire. 2 outlaws were killed instantly. Several others were wounded. It was chaos. The gang was being outgunned by ordinary citizens. In the confusion, Jesse and Frank James managed to break through and escape on horseback. But the Younger brothers weren't so lucky. Wounded and cornered, they were captured days later in a desperate shootout with the posse that hunted them down. The robbery was a complete disaster. The gang failed to get the money. 2 citizens of Northfield were killed defending their town. The Younger brothers were sentenced to life in prison. And while Jesse and Frank escaped, their reign of terror was crumbling. The Northfield raid marked the beginning of the end for Jesse James. But in failure, he became a legend. To some, a daring outlaw who defied the law. To others, a ruthless murderer brought down by ordinary citizens. More than a century later, his name still echoes as one of the most infamous figures of the Wild West. Like and subscribe to the channel if you like stories